also heard that he hired a random Romanian to not know what it's like. What about Craven and his wife and stuff?
Let's not call him Craven. My friend, or one of our friends, watched this movie and said he didn't like it, and I just can't fathom like understanding that because it's like objectively good. Like vampires are called Nosferatu, I suppose, and maybe there's Nosferatu of them. Okay, so I just rewatched Nosferatu by Robert Eggers. I watched it twice, and I watched it the first time with Faik, and I think after my first viewing, I immediately knew I needed to rewatch it because I was confused, I guess. But maybe confused isn't the right word. But after my second viewing, I was sure, and I came out the theater thinking that was a 10 out of 10.
I only watched it once, and that was with you technically with you, because you were halfway across the theater.
Was it Christmas night?
It was Christmas Eve.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Christmas night, not Christmas Eve, right? It was not Christmas Eve.
It was Christmas Day.
Christmas
It was
Day.
Christmas Day. Yeah.
Christmas Day night.
Christmas Day, 11 p.m.
We watched this movie together, but I sat in the second to front row, and he sat all the way in the back.
It was.
We just didn't sit near each other.
It was the
and it was
only
the late
way.
night viewing.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was the only condition you had of watching with me if we would sit separately.
It wasn't like if it was just you, it was fine. But we had another friend with us, and I was like, "Yeah, he was going to be talking the whole time." And I mean, did he talk or did he talk?
He did talk, but it was more fun facts and trivia.
Yeah, but I just don't want to hear anything.
I get that.
I'm there to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie for me is, I think it's a situational 8 out of 10, and I guess I'll describe what that means later.
Okay. All right. So obviously, as previously stated, I think this movie's a 10 out of 10. I've seen quite a few, or I've seen all of Robert Eggers' work, and this was my most anticipated film. And for me, this film not only lived up to the hype, but surpassed it for me. And I was thinking after my rewatch, that I could watch this a plethora of times and still enjoy it just as much as I did, if not more. Because I enjoyed it more on my second watch.
So, before we actually get into the spoiler section, I want to quickly describe what I meant. What I mean by situational is like more, I guess, about person wise. If you like horror movies, you will definitely like this movie. I think if I was a person that liked horror movies, it would be a 9 or a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a horror movie that I liked. But if you don't like horror movies, I would say do not watch this movie. It was a good movie. It was, I think, objectively really good. But subjectively, if you're not really into this genre, you should not watch it.
I can agree, but also you know what you're going into when you're watching it. It's like not like, yes, it's a horror movie, but like, what's wrong with that? Like, it's a horror movie, but it's not very scary.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
So I don't really see like why. I think everyone should go see this, in my opinion. I don't see why, unless you're a small child, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to see this. So I want to hear mainly your complaints about why you made it an 8, and then I'll talk about why I thought it was perfect. But I want to hear your complaints first.
I got out of the theater. I was thinking this is a 9 or a 10. This was such a good movie. And then I slept on it because this was like, we were out by like 2 or 3 a.m., something like that. I went home, went to sleep. I woke up, and a few hours later, I came to, like, in my mind, I was just kind of thinking about it in the back of my mind sometimes. And I thought to myself, like, some of these characters were not really necessary, or like I felt like there was some lack of like there was a potential, more of a potential that I feel like they didn't fulfill.
In
Um,
what aspect? Be
I
more
th-
specific.
I think the husband either either the husband should
Friedrich?
have died in that first contact,
Friedrich or
or
Thomas?
hmm? Thomas.
Friedrich or Thomas?
Thomas.
Okay.
I think but he did live, but I feel like him living didn't really add much other than the main girl just becoming sane again. Like
Mhm.
I feel like because he lived, they could have done something with him, but I don't think he really did anything.
I
Um,
think he was a necessary emotional standpoint
I get that, but
for Ellen as a
I
character.
I still see it as a potential that was not used to its fullest. Is what I'm trying to say.
What do you
Um,
mean? Like he should have been killed?
well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying because he lived, he has potential. I'm saying he has
Okay.
potential more than just an emotional stand-in. Is what I'm trying to
But
say.
like I think he was there for Ellen at that point. Like his whole motivation is he wants to make a life for him and Ellen. He's newlywed, and he goes to Count Orlok's manor for money so he can give um, Ellen all she deserves, or all he thinks she deserves. Even though she just wants him, she's content with their life, and he kind of ruins it. His ego kind of gets the best of him in a certain manner, and he ends up paying the price. And we kind of see this contradiction of ideas where Ellen knows she has to sacrifice herself in order to end Nosferatu's plague on the town, and obviously Thomas wants to do anything other than that, but he ultimately fails, and Ellen has to sacrifice herself.
What about Craven and his wife and stuff?
Let's not call him Craven. Let's just not do that. His name
Uh,
is Friedrich,
Friedrich,
or or
Aaron
his
Taylor
actual name,
Johnson.
Aaron.
Um,
Yes, I almost said Anna Taylor Johnson.
I felt that family thing also had like more potential that was not used to its fullest. I felt.
In what
Okay,
aspect?
no, here I'll say this before I go any further. I liked the movie and I
Mhm.
enjoyed all of the characters. I'm just saying, I just felt that like these are things that did not have to happen, but like these are just potentials that I saw that were not
Mhm.
really used. Is what I'm trying to say. Like I get that it's I guess he had his own closed off
He had his
grief
own role to
story
play.
thing,
Yeah,
but
his role was with his family and protecting Ellen. Ellen's role was, the main story, as you say, is kind of Nosferatu and Ellen's relationship,
yeah,
and that's kind of just between them. No one else really does or does anything really other than like Thomas, but or maybe you could argue Willem Dafoe does something, which I would argue he kind of doesn't.
I don't think he does. No.
Like Nosferatu still dies, but at the same time he sort of like not convinces, but like supports Ellen's decision to sacrifice herself for the greater good, whereas everyone else is like, no, don't. There's always another way. He's the only one in support instead of opposition, and obviously he, destroys Nosferatu's grave.
Oh, we're
But
still
in the
okay.
end, all that. Hmm?
No, no, continue.
In the end, he destroys Nosferatu's grave, but ultimately, that doesn't really do anything other than kill. I didn't. I want to say this: is the bank guy who sends Thomas away the crazy guy?
No.
He is, right? He is.
Wait, I mean, you watched it twice, so you might. Is he the
I
same
didn't
guy?
realize this on the first watch at all, but I am 90% sure that the crazy guy is the guy who sends Thomas away. And that makes so much more sense. Like, how did you not, like, because he's in contact with Count Orlok. How do you get in contact with Count Orlok? He had, the pentagram on the floor. He was communing with devils, and that turned him crazy. And then he sent Thomas away as a sacrifice.
Yes, you are right. That is, in
Yeah.
fact, him. I also did
I
not notice
didn't
that.
notice at all in my first watch, but upon my second watch, I figured it out, and it made the movie a lot better, in my opinion. It just
Also,
made so much more sense.
like the the vampire, I guess his name is Count Orlok. It's not Nosferatu. I think
Yeah.
Nosferatu is supposed to be the ritual or something. I'm not exactly sure, but
No, the demon's name is the vampire. Willem Dafoe's character says, "We are dealing with the undead plague carrier, the vampire Nosferatu." He it also goes by Nosferatu. It's his
there
like
was
demon name.
other Nosferatus. So like, is each, I guess,
I think it's
incarnation
just
of,
like the name for vampires, I guess.
okay, that, yeah. So
And he's just
yeah.
his real name is Count Orlok, and then like the name for the demon that he is Nosferatu, is what I'm saying.
Mm, okay.
Like vampires are called Nosferatu, I suppose. And maybe there's Nosferatu of them, but in this movie you only see one. Keep that in. You better keep that in.
Yeah, we're keeping that in. Yeah.
Yeah, you better keep that in. Okay. I want to go into my favorite parts of this movie. Um, I think Robert Eggers is probably my favorite director. Um, he doesn't have any misses in his category. He's made The Vavitch, the Northman, and The Lighthouse, and they're all like, for me, they're all 9 to 10 out of 10. So, like the Lighthouse is like a 10 out of 10 for me, and then all the others are 9 out of 10.
The
All the
Northman
acting is
too.
superb. You don't like The Northman?
That was such a weird movie.
I liked it a lot. Um, I definitely think actually The Northman is the weakest of his film repertoire, but I also think it's he has a lot of polarizing work. Like I haven't heard a lot of people either be middle of the road for Nosferatu. It's either you love it or you hate it. But honestly, I can't understand the hatred. My friend, or one of our friends, watched this movie and said he didn't like it, and I just can't fathom like understanding that because it's like objectively good. Yes, it's like a horror movie, but I think it's a horror movie in a way that does it not like I don't think it alienates an audience in any manner that like a crazy horror movie would. Like yeah, it has some super scary parts, but overall it's like not insanely like gory or like gruesome.
Does it have
Um
scary
my favorite
parts?
I think the intro is super scary. It has like a crazy like
Oh,
jump scare.
yeah. I think it was really creepy with the whole, uh, the thing she
It's
was
more of like a
doing.
looming like
Yeah,
scary and like just like cool shots.
yeah.
But
Okay.
my favorite part of this movie is the cinematography, the color grading down to like all the shots that Robert Eggers does is so good. Um, my favorite shot um, is the shot where Thomas is going up to Count Orlok's manor, and we see him under the singular spotlight. Some like we have these parallel trees going down like infinity, and this like we hear these like dun 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 coming closer and closer, and then we just see him standing frozen in this like snow, and the horses just get closer and closer and louder until they like are right upon him and then suddenly stop, and then it flips to Thomas, and then the carriage is horizontal just out of nowhere, and then the door opens and he floats inside. My favorite shot in the whole movie. And as well, I mean the whole movie's filled with shots. You could say the intro where she like floats out of bed. She's like laying down praying, and then she like floats to the top. Or probably maybe like the objectively best shot is the hand that Nosferatu like the shadow he looms over. I think it's Burmany. I still don't know.
Was it a
But
city?
Transylvania, I guess. I don't know. Transylvania. It's Transylvania. I guess.
It's
I
not.
don't know.
I don't think it's
Or
Transylvania.
no, he's from Transylvania, but I don't know. Regardless, the shadow that he looms over the city, and also like that one shot where the curtains are floating in the wind, and you see the shadow of Count Orlok, but you don't see him there. It's just his shadow. So good.
Um.
I also thought the. I'll say one more part, and then you can go. But I thought the acting from everyone was spectacular, especially I think the my standout role here was Lily Rose Depp. I think the like some people are like hating on her because she's like convulsing a lot in the movie, but like the way she does it, like you have to portray an emotion that's like being possessed. I've never seen someone be possessed as good as her, as strange as that sounds. Like the way she does it is like actually scary and unnerving. You know, it's hard to do. And one final thing, there's a lot of there's a little bit of nudity in this movie, but I learned about this from my friend who I watched it with the second time. Apparently, Bill Skarsgård's penis was not real, like as Nosferatu, but yet every other girl is like topless in this movie. Like, what are we doing? We can't have a little bit of wiener, but we can have like 3 shots of like different girls' tatas. Like, what are we doing?
I do remember. I mean, not about Bill, whatever his name is, but
Skarsgård.
uh, in a movie Willem Dafoe was making, he had to be nude, but they
Mm-hmm.
had to find a body double for him because apparently his penis was too big.
They said it was like strange, no, they said it confused people. But yeah, it's like I've seen it. It's big. It's crazy.
He's seen it. He
Yeah.
knows.
You can look it up if you want. I advise it. Go look it up.
And
It's something to behold.
what was
Not
the
Faik, but just other the
what was the main actress's name?
Lily Rose Depp. She's Johnny
Lily
Depp's daughter.
Rose Depp. Oh, that's an interesting thing to
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, her convulsings and stuff were really creepy, but
Mm-hmm.
I think the most creepy part was when she was freaking, like when she was crashing out in front of her husband
Mm-hmm.
at the end. That whole
That yes, that acting sequence where she like turns on a dime. She's like going crazy, feral, like, and then she like turns like into this like possessed person again, and then she's
yeah.
like spazzing out again. That was for sure her standout in the movie.
I did not know like what to think while I was watching that. I was kind of mesmerized. I don't know if it's right to say that, but I was mesmerized
It was really
watching
good,
it.
yeah. And people saying she's not like a good actress are actually I genuinely don't understand the hate other than just like her connection to her father. Maybe is just like why people don't like her, but it's just an objectively good
No,
acting
she was
from
probably my
acting standpoint.
favorite part of um the whole movie, I think.
Which is crazy to say because the movie's like full of standout performances. I mean, you have Willem Dafoe, you have Craven the Hunter, and then you have I forget Thomas's actor's name, but he's very good. And then you have obviously Bill Skarsgård, whose voice was actually I watched a lot on this movie, but his voice was real on set. Like the voice you hear in the movie is the voice he's doing. He hired an opera coach and he lowered his voice a full octave in order to make his voice sound like Count Orlok.
Hmm.
It's like crazy work. He like basically learned how to be like a full voice actor for this role.
I also heard that he hired a random Romanian to not know what it's like to be
Mhm.
Romanian.
Yeah. And my final tidbit that I'd like to say I enjoyed, I think the ending, this was, and I said this to Faik when I left, it was the first thing on my mind. This movie has the best vampire death I've ever seen.
I
It is so good.
100% agree.
It's so good.
I 100% agree.
Anyways, but that's all I had to say. I mean, obviously, I have no critiques. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I think it was perfectly handled, perfectly executed. Best director, best performance for the director I've seen so far. I'm excited to see what he has in stores next. Yeah. Anything else, Fight?
I'll say this again. I guess my criticism wasn't truly a criticism. It was just more. It was just
Preference.
what I was feeling. Okay, it was more about vibes. I was just getting the vibe that like something. I just felt that something was missing the potential. I don't know how. I just felt that more could have been done. But I'm not saying this in a bad way because I did like this. I loved this movie. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna say love. I did love this
Definitely a
movie. I'll watch
must-watch
it
for me.
again.
Unless
Definitely.
you're legit, go watch this movie.
I wouldn't say that. I still think there is a certain audience for the movie. I don't think it's for everyone. But yeah. All right. If you agree with us, please like and subscribe because you will see more of our opinions. If you don't agree, leave a comment.
Hit that share button. Hit that follow button. Hit that bell. Ring that fucking bell. Ring that shit.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
I bought a property in Egypt. What they do for you is they give you the property.
Hey, yo, chill the fuck out, yo.